AFC West, I feel the same way. It's inches, not feet. I think the Chargers empowered their run game, and they're going to be a ball control offense with two great tackles, a great coach, a great quarterback, and two excellent running backs. They also upgraded at tight end. I think they're going to be not as much sizzle as you may want, but they're just going to ground teams. It'll be classic Jim Harbaugh in year two. You will be looking at a team that is completely different than they were 2 years ago. Chiefs still win 10-11, maybe 12, but they finish second, Broncos and Raiders. Didn't love the Broncos draft.
Okay. The Raiders finishing fourth. No playoffs. Let's talk about it. Okay. So I think this is actually a positive because I think Colin is pretty good at understanding what people are talking about here. And I feel like a lot of people are sleeping on the Raiders. And we use those terms a lot. Like, oh, so-and-so sleeping on this team, sleeping on that team. And usually it's just like fans speaking nonsense. But I think actually if we look at it like the Chicago Bears of last season, where everybody was so high on them, even though they were completely unproven, new quarterback, new coordinator, et cetera, new draft picks. And there was so much energy and hype, and you had, these big nationally televised games, Thanksgiving, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, like, there was so much energy and hype that I think it definitely did them a disservice because they really started to believe we're gonna go on like a playoff run. We're gonna go on a Super Bowl run, right? Like, and I think that did impact them to a little bit. And you could feel the pressure when the wins weren't there. You could see the panic. You could see the shrinking. You could see them making big mistakes. And it allowed them to not really maybe go through the ups and downs of a season. There is a world where if they just kind of stayed true to themselves and kind of stayed focused and didn't feel so much that they were failing and that they were unraveling and that they were just kind of going through some hardships, that they still could have bounced back, won some games, and then snuck in through the wild card. You need better coaching, I believe, and so I think that was a fundamental problem. But let's now compare that to the Raiders. With the Raiders, they're not going to have that same level of pressure. No one's talking about, Pete Carroll and Geno Smith leading this team to a Super Bowl, and that Geno Smith's going to be an MVP candidate. And I think that's a good thing because then this team gets to just focus on building culture, winning games, improving and growing as the season unfolds, which I believe will directly lead you to those wins to then put yourself in a position to actually, right? You're not putting the cart before the horse here, whereas a team like the Bears did. I think that was very obvious. And I do also think that a team like the Raiders is so difficult to predict. I think that they're going to be a great team, honestly. I'm so excited for the Raiders. I really am. And I just think when you bring in I understand though why people are struggling to understand who they are, because you're bringing in an entire new coaching staff, a new defensive head coach, a new offensive coordinator, a new quarterback, drafting some weapons like Genti, and like it's just unique. And you're in a brutal division, right? I think the Chiefs, the Broncos, and the Chargers, they're all going to be tough games. I've said that so many times. So that's why I wanted to bring up this schedule, because I think to myself, okay, if the Raiders are actually just a pretty darn good team and they're well coached, I have to imagine that they have to at least win 2 to 3 divisional games. Like, it just, if not, you're just having really bad luck, or you're a team that can like win the easy games, but you just keep losing the hard ones, which could be possible. But so let's just say they win 3 divisional games. I mean, we could even just say 2 just to be safe, because if you're winning less than that, then like you're probably not going to be a good team, and then nothing I have to say now matters, quite frankly. But let's just say they win 3 games. You should be able to beat the Jags. That's 4. You should be able to beat the Titans. That's 5. Now the Cowboys did get a little bit better now that they got Pickens. I don't really believe in them. So that's 5, 6. So wait, that's 3, 4, 5. That's 6 wins. The Giants, 7 wins. The Browns, 8 wins. The Bears, going to be interesting. I think they're going to be significantly better. And then we look at the away. I mean, who the heck are the Colts? Who's the Colts quarterback? What are they doing there? Is it Daniel Jones? Is it AR? I don't know. The Texans, I mean, I think the Texans can take a legitimate step back. I believe in CJ Stroud. I'm excited to see if he can bounce back and this team can bounce back. I don't have a tremendous amount of confidence one way or the other. And if you said, do you think they're going to be as good as they were last year? I'd say I'm failing to see why. I'm failing to see why at the very least they'll be better. And if they're not better than they were last year, well, then of course that game can win. Of course you can win that game. I think the Eagles is going to be a tough game. I think the Commanders are going to be a tough game. No doubt. You're on the road. And then you have the Patriots. I think the Patriots will be better for sure. Drake May. And that's why I want to look at also the schedule. I think if you're playing Drake May and the Patriots in week 10, Mike Vrabel's kind of, got his legs under from him. Drake May is getting more and more comfortable now. I think that completely changes. If you're playing the Patriots week 1, week 2, I think it's a lot easier of a game. And then I also think the factor for the Raiders are you playing a divisional game, final game of the season where it doesn't matter, right? Like we saw the Broncos playing the Chiefs where everybody sat. Patrick Mahomes wasn't playing, that whole team wasn't playing. That's obviously a pretty easy win for the Broncos. Is that going to be a game that the Raiders have? Has the NFL learned their lesson a little bit to not just automatically have these divisional games final game of the season when there's a great chance that one of those teams does not have to play anyone, and I think that'll factor in. But I see a path for 9-10 wins or so, 11 wins. Again, it's all gonna depend. Can you steal a win against do you end up winning 4 out of 2 in the division, which would obviously be pretty amazing and definitely hard to do. Do you steal a win on the road against the Eagles, right? Are the Eagles, do you play with the Eagles earlier on in the season? Probably not, but maybe you do, where the Eagles are kind of struggling to kind of get into gear, get settled. They have a new offensive coordinator, etc., etc. AJ Brown, Devontae, they're always randomly going down. So it's just you can get a potential win there. It's just, the margin of error, like I'm saying in all of these videos, is definitely small for all of these teams, but especially this division, right? Because I just think the Broncos, the Chiefs, and the Chargers, and the Raiders, all 4 are just, it's going to be that good. So it's interesting. It's interesting to unpack because on one side, I see some easier games, but then even the go-to easy games that once upon a time were really easy, like the Jags, like the Titans, like the Giants, they have potential to be a lot harder now. The Giants, I think they'll be pretty decent. I think they'll be better with Russell Wilson and Dable. I really do. Certainly better than what they were last year. And the Titans, new quarterback, new energy there. I think they could have success. Trevor Lawrence and the Jags, new coach. I'm pretty open to the Jags and Trevor Lawrence actually being significantly better now that he's going to potentially get settled with a significantly better offensive head coach. I think that's a real thing. It's a lot different playing the Jags with Mac Jones and Doug Peterson, who's about to be fired. Those are just different games. So even some of their easier games, and I when I say easy, I really put it in quotes. They're harder games, but the benefit is that Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly, they're not going to be in positions where they're going to be regularly outcoached. I think in years past, when you don't have a coaching staff that truly understands what needs to happen in these games and how it's a completely different game against the Kansas City Chiefs than the Tennessee Titans, you're less likely to make that bizarre mistake. You're less likely to have that play where you're like, dude, just throw the ball 4 yards, get the first down, and milk the clock. Now the Titans get the ball back with 20 seconds and no timeouts. But because you did what you did, you just threw the incompletion, they're now getting the ball back with 2:02 left and 2 timeouts. What are you doing? And that's always how those teams end up losing those games, where you're just how did you just let that game slip away? And same thing even when you're playing against the Chiefs or the Broncos. It's just dude, you would have won this game. Just convert the first down and you win. Or just run the ball. It doesn't even matter if you convert it. They were going to have the ball with 33 seconds left. Take your chances. Trust your defense, right? Those, I'm already getting worked up because we've seen those moments a million times. You're going to make those mistakes significantly less when you have Pete Carroll there and Chip Kelly. I just firmly believe that it's the power of coaching. And when you have an established veteran quarterback, like Geno Smith. So that puts you in a better position to not drop some of those games when you're just like, dude, you had it. You had the game. I think a team like the Raiders, you can't lose many of those. You had the game. You had it. I can't come on here in October being like, oh my God, like that game was won. You blew that game, because if you have that happen once or twice this season, it really feels like it's like that was the margin of error. You're not going to make the playoffs now. Like you're not going to be able to go on the run. Like it's just going to be that tightly contested. And to be fair, I think it's like that for many of these teams out there. Many ones, except for maybe like the Ravens and the Bills, because I think their division, they'll be able to scoop them up. But I just and I think again the wild card race will just be pretty tight. So it's gonna be interesting. It's definitely gonna be interesting, and I think it's gonna be cool because I just think the Raiders are gonna surprise a lot of people. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Las Vegas Raiders missing the playoffs, coming in last place, according to Colin Cowherd, in the division? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. It really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.